Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred podcast. I am Luke Holdsworth and I'm joined by Mark Leversedge. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good, man. You?
Yeah, not bad. It's I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while now, and it's great to have somebody else on board. You know, who's such a wrestling fan as well, and there's not many people that I know locally that are willing to do this sort of thing. So, cheers for getting involved with it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Yeah. Well, let's just tell people how we met. We met at a fundamentals class, wasn't it, at Future Shock Wrestling?
Yeah, Future Shock Wrestling. It was a head coach Xander Cooper. It was actually helped by Jack Gallagher.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I spent I spent about 15 minutes in an arm lock off
Yeah,
the guy.
I think he put me in a headlock and I tried lifting him up and he wouldn't let go. So I thought, yeah, I'm not going to win that battle.
Yeah, awesome guy.
Even though he is a
But
gentleman, he's like quality. You know what? You can just tell when someone's a professional at what they do. When there's the presence around him it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Like
the guy's been doing it for years, but it's glad to see that he's actually in like WWE and where he deserves to be based on his quality as a performer.
yeah. So yeah, all the best to Jack and cheers for doing that fundamentals class that day. It was really cool. Well, unfortunately, I had to stop trying to train for wrestling due to a serious ankle injury that I had, but still love wrestling and still heavily into everything wrestling. And Mark's pretty much the same. You just didn't want to go back, did you?
No, I did it for about 3 weeks,
hmm
and I dislocated a finger. I think after the first session, it took me about 10 days to just get the feeling back in my quads. The warm-ups on their own were brutal. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they were.
I mean, anyone who does it for a full-time living is like fair enough to them as an athlete and as a performer.
Oh, it's heavily underrated, isn't it? Like
It,
how.
on terms of fitness and what people don't expect and how they expect they could, a lot of people expect they could just step into a ring and understand the business. It's not an easy business to get
No,
into and
no,
get your
it's
fitness
not.
up. It takes a lot of pressure on the body.
Yeah,
Uh,
I will say one thing though. If I'd known about Future Shock earlier, like in my life, I definitely would have been at it now for at least 10 years because had
I
I have
think I'm the same.
had I have known about that, I would have really, really tried, to make something of it. And it's a shame that I'm so old now. Like I'm nearly 30. I mean, people say that's not old, but if you don't start doing something like that from there's some of the lads down there. I think they're like 16 and 17, training in the running the ropes and doing flips and all sorts of shit now. So it's like I couldn't go down there and do that.
I
So
think the only other school I can think of, if you know Marty Jones from World of Sport, if you remember Marty Jones
hmm
from '70s, he runs a school in Oldham. That's a little bit of a different style of wrestling. It's a lot more holds based than the old school form of wrestling.
yeah,
There's a lot
not
less flips, a lot less spots,
yeah.
stuff like that. However, I've been down to a class and watched a class of his, and that's just as 10 times as brutal.
Is it?
It's just a different
Did you
way of
not
doing it
join in?
entirely. No, I actually went down at the time when I was doing something to do with the t-shirt business that I had a couple of years ago.
All right, cool.
However, that was just a brief visit down there. However, again, anyone that does it for a full-time living or just as a hobby, it's hardcore on the body.
Yeah, it is. And props to them. Anyway, so speaking of something, someone who's been doing something for a long time, let's talk about the Undertaker and how what's happening with the Undertaker at the moment is appearing on 24s for WrestleMania. If you don't have the WWE Network, he appeared on the 24 WrestleMania, didn't he, from Orlando, and it showed a brief clip of him coming down from the ramp, after everyone was saying "Thank you, Taker" after the sexy striptease. Um, and it basically said, "I'm happy riding off into the sunset." Now all of a sudden, who calls him out on Raw is John Cena, but it's been heavily talked about all year, hasn't it? That this is the match that's going to take place. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, One, it should be his last. I think WWE as a whole need to stop relying on him for Manias.
Yeah, and
To sell tickets.
do you think Undertaker? The main reason they fall back on the Undertaker every time is just to draw money.
Yes.
He's just such a big draw, isn't he? I mean, at Raw
Taker has been Mania for a few years. I think WWE and the creative team as a general are still unwilling to give someone else the ball and run with it for a Mania. Undertaker has been known as that draw for the last God knows how many years.
Yeah, it's true.
It's 25 years, I think. Is it 25?
That's more than that, isn't it?
It's 23 and 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 23. Yeah, it was 23 and 20. Yeah, 23 and 2.
So yeah, 25 years. And I think that it's getting to the point now. The guy's pushing mid-50s. He's had hip replacements, knee replacements, a lot of surgeries. It's harder for him to get in shape just for one match a year, let alone a full-time schedule.
They're just talking about people getting in shape. Did you watch the Goldberg 24 and how much training he had to do to get back into the form, that people are used to seeing him in? I can't speak. But watching that was like, Jesus Christ, man, you're killing yourself. But the way he came back, the way wrestlers come back now, like Goldberg, for example, if The Undertaker was to come back this year, he needs to come back in shape.
I think that was the problem. I think that was evident from the Roman Reigns match. There was spots.
There was a spot where Roman tried to reverse the tombstone and Undertaker flipped it, didn't he? And it didn't quite pay off as much.
Yeah, I think there was another one with a power bomb as well, where I don't think he had the upper body and core strength to necessarily.
I mean, Reigns is a big guy. Don't get me wrong. Reigns is a big guy, isn't he? And but Reigns is a good worker. But I just think it's a shame that he beat The Undertaker last year. Now, if The Undertaker comes back, it doesn't really say much for Roman Reigns, does it? And where he stands at the moment.
I think it takes away from him a little bit, with WWE evidently trying to have Reigns as the main guy and the top guy, and he's been heavily pushed for a while. I think with the match that's probably going to happen is the Lesnar match, obviously. So, realistically, I don't think it'll necessarily take away too much from Reigns if the plan is to put the belt on him this year. But in regards to Taker, I think they need to take a chance and maybe. I would say let the Cena match happen, because it's probably a match that the fans have been wanting for a while. Realistically, if anyone can carry Taker or Taker can work with confidently,
Big Match John.
Big Match John. Definitely Super Cena. If there's anybody that can.
Do you think Cena would work heel in that match?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, going back to Raw when Seth Rollins was doing the gauntlet match. The way he worked around Rollins, now I know he was trying to conserve energy, doing air quotes. I don't think he was. I think he was trying to play heel, and he was really enjoying himself, just dismantling Seth Rollins. And then obviously he lost, but I could see that as a bit of a, all right, guys, do you want to see this? To the crowd sort of thing. Let's trial this, because is this how I'm going to work with The Undertaker at WrestleMania? If it is, I'm going to look forward to it, because the amount of heel that's in John Cena that's just waiting to come out is.
I think it's impossible because of how much of a legend The Undertaker is in the business. It would be hard for him for WWE to put him in that position of being a heel, and be near impossible for him to get booed. Whereas the fans enjoy booing Cena. It's the cool thing to do.
It would be the right thing to do, wouldn't it? To make him work heel and to really push him being the bad guy in this.
Smarks have been wanting a Cena heel turn for years. All the Smart fans have been wanting that for years. That's what they want. Cena was probably at his most entertaining when he was borderline like the Doctor Thugonomics gimmick just before WWE went total PG. I've always found Cena entertaining, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, does he draw as much as he used to? That's another whole debate, isn't it? But I mean, fans love turning up to boo him, and it's this stereotype that's been created around his character, where it's the in thing now let's go Cena, Cena sucks, that whole thing. If you're doing that and you're turning up and shouting that, and you're giving him that much attention as a character, then the WWE are just going to run with him, aren't they? And
Yeah.
I think the noise at WrestleMania, if this match does happen, I think this will be the biggest Cena sucks chant that we're going to hear for a very long time.
I think on terms of like the matches other than the title matches, I think if you're going to have sort of what's the best way to word it? Commodity matches. Mm-hmm. So Taker matches for the last few years have been the commodity match, whereby
which is a shame because that, if Taker's on the bill, normally it's the main event, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's like not to take anything away from the guy, but like the matches with after the streak ended. At WrestleMania 30, mm-hmm. the Taker matches, if you ask me, haven't meant as much since the streak ended.
It's pure nostalgia, isn't it?
Exactly. I think commodity matches was the wrong term to use, but nostalgia matches. But I think to see I think Cena and Taker's the only way it could go.
People were crying. There was tears shed at WrestleMania last year. The Undertaker just disappearing down into the ramp, and when he held his arm up, people were crying. I mean, if you watch that documentary about WrestleMania, the amount of emotion that was in the room was like, we're never going to see this guy again. I just don't know.
Do you think that if they book him again for this year, it takes away from that moment last year?
Of course it does. He's walked away into the sunset, and all of a sudden he's just gonna. Unless they do a complete reverse at the start of the match, he comes up from the ramp and then puts all his clothes back on in the middle of the ring.
What I would do, I'd go a little bit of a swerve on terms of how you book Taker. I would break kayfabe entirely. I would have no Phenom, no.
Wow, never thought about that.
No, I would completely break kayfabe. I would have him none of that, and I would bring back Big Evil. Big Evil versus John. Like Big Evil was probably one of the. If you actually look back at some of the matches and like especially like the one he had with Ric Flair. Was it Ric Flair? Ric Flair and Arn Anderson did the running one year. Like those matches were. The guy was brutal at that point in his gimmick.
Yeah. Just a badass.
Like the stuff that he did with Tommy Dreamer when Tommy Dreamer threw up on him. But yeah, I would have him come back as sort of like the American badass gunslinger.
Yeah, if he comes down that ramp on a motorcycle, oh my god, the pop would be absolutely incredible. I think. Wow.
The old school American badass.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that?
Like nostalgia.
Fucking, and then the crowd would explode. Right.
It'd be something different. I think the one thing again, I think for the last few years, with the Undertaker matches, it's the entrance that's probably one of the things that sells tickets for WrestleMania. Like the entrance is about 10 minutes long in itself.
Well, if you watch the network, how many times does it show the Undertaker's entrance throughout the day? Like if you watch it on general programming and you see the adverts for all different like Raws of the year and Smackdowns of the years, and it's always got the Undertaker is on everything that they do, and it's mainly his entrance. It's not his work. It's the entrance, and
yeah,
that to me speaks volume. Like, obviously they need that content to push everything else. So in a way, he's still pushing the company, but from a different point of view. And he's not even there really. Well, I don't know if he is there or not. That's pure speculation on my part, but. I can't see him turning up to every Raw and every SmackDown every night,
He can't do it anymore. And I think the WWE needs to go in a different direction and rely on some of the other guys coming up. I mean, if you look at the other guys that have got similar personas, like a bit of a darker persona, you've got Bray Wyatt, who I think they need to give a little bit more of a ball. Different topic for a different time, though. You have the Bludgeon Brothers, Braun Strowman.
You know who I'd like to see get a push, and this might be controversial, but I'd like to see Baron Corbin get a bit more of a push. I think his character has enough evolution in him to be the next dark guy of the company. I really like Baron Corbin.
Possibly another curveball from NXT. You've got Aleister Black.
Well, Aleister Black.
Who we know over here in the UK as Tommy End.
Did you watch his Velveteen Dream match?
That was incredible. Same with the match with Adam Cole.
Man.
I think that this is the other problem that WrestleMania has. I think we're going off on a bit of a tangent, but NXT every year steals the show for every major pay-per-view.
Every NXT takeover I've watched has blown me away. I mean, you'd be a fool if you're listening to this podcast and you've not watched NXT for whatever reason. Just get a trial on the network and just watch NXT takeovers. Just watch them, because
they're incredible.
It's a different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's for more of the purist wrestling fan.
But some of the characters, some of the newer characters, like Sanity, the whole persona of Sanity.
Oh, again, I mean,
character driven.
Again, if you're a fan of the UK scene, especially promotions like ICW, you've been watching these guys. I've got a funny story about Killian Dane. Obviously, again, over here, Big Damo. Prior to him joining WWE, I went to an ICW show in Manchester, and I took my wife. First ever show she'd ever been to was not a WWE show; it was an ICW show.
Nice.
And Drew Galloway, also Drew McIntyre, as he's now known, took Killian Dane and threw him into the barricade. The barricade was physically taken with it, along with me and my wife were leant over the barricade. Next thing, nothing underneath me, and we were ringside at the stage. Crazy show.
Wow.
But yeah, going back to the Undertaker, there's plenty of guys who, if they gave the ball, I'm sure would run with it. Especially some of the guys from NXT, guys like McIntyre, guys like Aleister Black. However, the NXT in itself is becoming a monolith of its own, and it has done its taken strides year on year. But I think they need to sort of, after this year, take that chance of, I would say next year, Taker as the main name into the Hall of Fame after this year.
I think it has to be, doesn't it? And then, you know what, I'm excited for, I don't know if they're going to do it, but if they are going to do it, I hope they do it properly, and that's show a bit more of, if this is his last WrestleMania, this has to be a 365 sort of documentary about it, like a full hour. I'd even watch this at the cinema if they released it, like Taker's pretty much legacy and life in the WWE. If they did a documentary on this now, a proper one, with a full 24-hour, none of the shit where you don't see anymore with The Undertaker, everything, all in, yeah? If you get that, I would pay to see that in cinemas.
Well, a lot of people would, because the Undertaker's been old school for such a long time, being sort of like one of the very few guys that have been
doesn't give anything away, does he? Doesn't give
anything away. Undertaker is an incredibly old school guy, and in regards to things like kayfabe, he's very particular about it in terms of how the business works. He is very particular to the character. He will very rarely get seen out and about without the gimmick wear on. I think the only time you'll ever see him out maybe a UFC event, and sort of, I think he's done the odd charity event, and also maybe the odd picture on his wife's Instagram account. But he's very rarely seen outside of WWE TV. In his private life, he's a very private guy, but he's very particular with kayfabe. Just going back to the Goldberg documentary from before I mentioned, that was well open, wasn't it? Like, can you imagine that with The Undertaker? That's what I'm saying they need to do. I think if they're going to end it, and I think that's why they haven't done it yet, is because they knew they weren't going to end it. Like, they knew that wasn't his last match. And which tells me they've had this plan for a long time. There's always the work, isn't there? Like, they're trying to see, it to come out like a shoot, and we're seeing it as a work. Like, from 12 months ago, The Undertaker said, "Yeah, I'll have a fight with John Cena." Whereas if you watch Raw and Smackdown, it's like, that's never going to happen. And then he calls him out. I don't know. I'm getting worked into a shoot work. I just don't know. There's a lot of them going on a bit at the minute, isn't there? Works.
Yeah. I don't know what to believe anymore. Let's talk a bit about Ronda Rousey. How do you think the WWE have booked her so far, and are you happy with what you've seen so far on TV?
I think she got when it came to doing her promo with the mic when she made her debut, not her debut, but her appearance at
Raw,
no, not the Raw.
Royal Rumble.
What was Royal Rumble? That's right. Was it Royal Rumble? No, it
No, the
was
Royal Rumble
pay-per-view.
was the pointy promo.
The pointy promo, points at sign. Damn it! Elimination Chamber.
Yes, that one. The one that it just shows you how.
It was last week.
Oh wow! Yes, Elimination Chamber, which was a pretty decent pay-per-view actually. I quite enjoyed it. There was a few spots where I was a bit like, yeah, there's not really much point in that.
I think it was predictable, but I thought it was a well put together and entertaining pay-per-view. The women's match again blew it away.
Yeah.
I think she got quite emotional when she eventually grabbed the mic, and I don't think she was expecting the reception that she got. She got a very good reception from the crowd.
Yeah, and it was
good to see.
Yeah, it was good to see. The crowd really put her over actually as a big baby face. To be honest, if anything came of that, obviously putting Triple H through the table, that was another, the setup for the angle, wasn't it? Literally.
The Stephanie slap. She doesn't pull punches.
Yeah. About that slap.
Oh, she'll have given a go ahead to hit me as hard as you can.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, Ronda Rousey's not going to sit there and take a little bitch slap, is she? She's going to take a proper full on whack.
No. When Stephanie does it, she does it properly.
Yeah. But I mean,
in regards to how she's been booked so far, I mean, I think it's obvious that she's going to be in a match with Triple H and Stephanie at Mania.
Yeah, that's a given.
I think who the partner is, I think 90% pretty much sure it's going to be Kurt Angle, subject to any curveballs. I can see that being an entertaining match.
Yeah. When Stephanie was apologising to her, when Ronda Rousey demanded an apology off her on Raw, I was expecting Ronda Rousey to put the biggest, huge armbar or a lock, some sort of submission where, like Taz said it perfectly in that, what I sent you earlier, his podcast.
Yeah.
When Taz was saying, look, you can't go up to someone like that and expect them not to do anything after what you just done to them.
Yeah.
She should have kicked this shit out of Stephanie, and it should have been allowed to happen as well. But you know what? The WWE at the moment seem to they keep trying to throw you off every angle.
The thing is, they do it every year for Mania. They just build you up and tease you every year, and they do come through 9 times out of 10 for a lot of the matches.
Yeah, there's a lot of
payoff. In terms of the build up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of payoff. I won't want to slap Ronda Rousey and then see her the next night face to face in the ring.
No.
No.
And I'm 6'3" and weigh close to 17 stone, and I wouldn't want to slap Ronda Rousey and then have to go and make her apologise to me the following night. No,
definitely not. But I think her coming to the company is going to elevate the company itself. It's going to elevate Steph. I mean, a lot of people have said that she's been brought in to make Stephanie McMahon more of a mainstream media attractor. So she's not very well known in the mainstream. So Ronda Rousey working with her is going to push Stephanie to that next level, really. In terms of McMahon's, I think in the mainstream media, Vince is obviously the first guy, isn't he? And then I wouldn't hesitate to say the next guy would be Shane, that people talk about.
In the media?
Yeah.
I'd go as far as saying Triple H.
Well, yeah, Triple H.
Are we saying specifically McMahon's?
No, if I was to say to you on BBC, Vince McMahon, in your head, you're not going to think Stephanie straight away. You're probably going to think Shane.
Yeah, probably.
So I think what they're trying to do as a company is put Stephanie over as this mainstream attraction sort of thing. That's where I think they're going with it. But they need to book Ronda not specifically for that. they need to book her so she's a badass. And when she goes into that women's division properly, if she does continue after WrestleMania, which I hope she does,
I would like to see it continue, not just be
I
in
can
a
see
similar
some
position to
factions.
Lesnar.
I can see some UFC factions.
Where you've got Shayna Baszler, it's the other girl from
Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see in the one other with the you can see the 4 horsewomen match possibly happening the following year.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be something to work for, wouldn't it? That'd be something to build up big time.
Well, they've been building on
that could headline WrestleMania.
Well, they've been building on that since the Mae Young Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that could be another headline match for the following year.
I think the women will headline next year.
I think they should.
Absolutely. If anybody has pushed the boundaries in the last 2-3 years, is the women.
Definitely.
I watched.
I think with. Go on, dude.
No, go on. You go on.
I was going to say, I think with Vince still probably having a firm grip on the business, I don't see it happening. I can see it probably being another Undertaker match.
With Ronda Rousey.
With Ronda Rousey. But no, in all seriousness, no. I mean, yeah, they say there's like multiple events every year, but I mean, the women have pushed boundaries non-stop for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Especially since I think 32, when they finally scrapped the whole Divas division and made it the women's division.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that was the turning point, wasn't it? When we're not going to give you this specific genre of what you are in the company. Yeah. Now you are women wrestlers. You're women talent. You just go out there and wrestle.
I think with them bringing
your worth.
Yeah, I think with them bringing Rousey to the WWE as well, it brings a completely new group of viewers with it. It brings a lot of UFC fans.
Oh yeah.
To the product. You've already heard talk of if you occasionally TMZ spill news on WWE.
Yeah.
They had an interview with Conor McGregor the night after she appeared at the Rumble.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that one.
No, there was an interview that TMZ caught him outside of a restaurant.
Oh wow!
And he was saying how he was so pleased for her.
Oh, cool.
And we all know McGregor's tweet history with the WWE. And I think it will bring a completely new audience to the sport or the show.
I think it'll bring more of the mainstream as well.
It will. WWE's always had a group of celebrities following, but I think it will bring that bit more, and I think that's what they need. I think we talked about earlier with guys like the Undertaker now moving on, and the old guard not being there anymore. I think they need to sort of branch out and look at different ways to maybe increase subscriptions on the network. And...
this will definitely. I think this will boost a few subscriptions over WrestleMania season anyway, just to see what Ronda's up to. I mean, the problem with the network is, I'm going off topic a bit here, but why the fuck can't they show Smackdown and Raw after it's been aired?
I think that's because of Sky. Sky have a specific agreement in regards to the rights to show the product live, and obviously WWE will get a lot of money from Sky and other network providers.
I understand. I understand that I can't remember. I know what I'm trying to say.
It wouldn't even so much bother me watching it live. However, even like with the 24-hour delay, it's like a 6-week delay. I think I would. Minus the football, I would probably scrap my Sky Sports subscription.
Absolutely. I don't watch anything. Obviously, I'm a massive golf fan, so having it now when the Masters is on is a must. But I'm lucky enough to be in a household where we've got the full package, and
Same.
I've always had that, opportunity to watch things. So I'm really grateful for that. But some of the shit that you see, man, it's just. I don't even want to go into that because that's just like we'll just have a full. No holds barred topic rant like that. That's what needs to happen.
So yeah, in regards to Rousey, then, realistically, like in terms of the match at Mania, I mean, they won't let Stephanie do a full like group of spots, it'll be 90% Triple H, and then whoever the other.
Oh, she's going to be the hot
is.
tag if it's a tag match.
Oh, definitely the hot tag.
But I can just see Stephanie just running around the ring, and then Ronda Rousey ducking under Triple H clothesline, and then Kurt Angle just taking him out, sort of thing. Back in the ring, armbar. Big explosion from the crowd. Worked on that. I could even see a sledgehammer coming into it at some point.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can see
that every year. Yeah. No, it's not WrestleMania without a sledgehammer.
No, it's not WrestleMania. Not you, Bludgeon Brothers. but, yeah.
What did you say, Mr. Shovel?
Rowan. But no, I can see this being an amazing attraction match. It's going to draw so much. It's going to do great for the company, and all the best to Ronda. I mean, some of her training footage that's been shown as well on WWE.com is it's intense. It's intense.
She's a UFC women's champion. She's used to intense training, so she's not going to take it by out.
She'll take to it. I reckon she'll take to it, and she'll be really good.
Like a fish in water. So yeah, good luck to Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. So from Ronda Rousey, let's talk a bit about Roman Reigns. Where's he at?
I love Roman. I hate that he gets booed.
Do you?
Yeah, it's not even his fault why he gets booed.
I totally agree with you. I know a lot of people that just don't get on with Roman Reigns, but he's put in these situations by other people. If it was down to him, I think he'd just Braun Strowman the place and just destroy everybody. If it was down to him.
I'll tell you the reason that Roman Reigns gets booed. There's two reasons. One,
it's next John Cena.
It's apparently no, nothing to do with that. It's apparently the cool thing to do. Mm. The apparent cool thing to do is boo Roman Reigns,
which is why I'm saying he's the next John Cena, because he gets the John Cena sucks, and then they boo John Cena, and then I don't know.
It's apparently a cool thing to do too. What was the Royal Rumble leading into WrestleMania 31, which was, I believe, Daniel Bryan's comeback into the Rumble, and you had the spot with Daniel Bryan. He eliminated a couple of guys, and then he was eliminated by Bray Wyatt. And the crowd were expecting this to be Daniel Bryan's year and the come back to Mania, and the whole crowd was deflated. And then I think Roman Reigns entered.
Dead. All right, it's him.
Yeah, and the crowd just took it out on Roman Reigns. The best person, again, there's an interview with Paul Heyman somewhere around on the internet as to why Roman Reigns gets the reaction that he does. And Paul Heyman said the same thing. It was down to that, and the fans didn't know who to take it out on. And it just unfortunately landed on Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want anyone other than Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble, and I think that's the unfortunate problem that I have with the internet wrestling community. In that,
just shoot, man, just shoot.
The guy is immensely talented, and he's definitely going to be the guy that carries the business for the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
If you look at the old guard that are leaving and slowly moving on now, there was 4 guys from the Attitude Era that were the mainstay, and that was Triple H, Undertaker, Rock, Stone Cold. You've got Triple H now as mainly a background person within the business. He's got a much more of an executive role.
He's got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies.
He has a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. He's obviously got his baby in NXT. Yeah. Cena's now moving on. He's not doing a full yearly schedule. He's a free agent now, I believe.
Appears on Smackdown when he needs to go to WrestleMania.
Yeah, they needed to figure out an angle to work the Undertaker booking, but on the side of that, I think AJ will return. I don't think they'll take away AJ and Shinsuke.
No,
That'd
they
be
can't.
incredible. They can't take that away from us.
But
weirder things have happened. Yes. But going back to Roman, he gets booed for reasons, and then I think it's unfortunately caught on from the casual fans where they think, oh, it's cool to boo this guy.
Yeah.
Same with to cheer the bad guys, whereas with Kevin Owens gets cheers. Jericho was getting cheered when with the whole list gimmick, and he was like one of the biggest heels in the business, and he was getting cheered week in, week out. I think the only full heel that gets booed properly is the Miz.
Even he's starting to get a bit of a pop now.
I have a lot of time for the Miz.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I think when what he says is how he's like. Again, his was a little bit of a shoot work promo on
definitely
Monday Night Raw, where he was like getting angry about how he's elevated the Intercontinental title and he shows up more than Brock Lesnar. There was a lot of guys doing anti-Brock Lesnar promos this week.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of them over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Alexa Bliss even did one a couple of weeks ago. That'd be like a hamster getting fucked by a silverback. But, yeah, you might want to edit that out.
Brilliant. No, I'm not editing that out. That's staying.
But
it's going to replace it with Ron Simmons. Damn, with Silverbear.
But in all seriousness, going back to Roman, he is obviously the top guy now. I mean, I would, if I was given the shoestring of how to book him, I would go full heel with him.
Yeah, just let him tear the place apart.
Fans are booing him. Okay, we will give you something to boo. Obviously, he beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I don't think they have capitalized on that. When Lesnar did it, you had Heyman running his mouth every time he was on TV, reminding people that Brock Lesnar was the 1 in 21-1. And I think they should have full on carried on with it, of have Roman Reigns slam it down everyone's throats every week that he was the guy that retired the Undertaker. However, because he hasn't actually retired him,
he should have came out in leather jackets and top hats and just said, "Look, this is the guy who you miss. I don't miss him. It's my yard now." You know, he should have come in and just played off that gimmick so much, and then he should have just destroyed the hell out of everyone on the roster. That thing with Braun Strowman should never have happened. It should have just been Roman Reigns just squashing the living shit out of people, and then Brock Lesnar comes back, because this match was obviously on, wasn't it? Like, this was planned from last year.
This has been planned since WrestleMania.
So why didn't Lesnar come back and have his last match at WrestleMania, if this is going to be his last match before he goes to UFC again? If that was the plan all along, why didn't they just have Roman Reigns just work pure heel all year, and then Lesnar come back and say, "Yo, man, what the fuck are you up to?" sort of thing. And just have it as an angle where Lesnar's just pissed off with Reigns destroying everyone. It's his company because he's the Universal Champion. He needs to come back and prove a point. Reigns beats Lesnar. Reigns gets over as a heel.
I think the problem you've got there is that Lesnar's not confident. Well, I wouldn't say Lesnar's not confident on a mic. However, Lesnar's mouthpiece is Heyman, and Heyman is he basically shoves it down your throat every week.
The way Roman shot that promo, that work shoot promo.
I'm still not sure. Again, that was a blurred line moment.
Yeah, it was.
I was sat there thinking,
was it a word?
Is he allowed to say that?
Well, Ollie Davis on Wrestle Talk podcast was like, that must have been approved for him to say that stuff, but then when he said it, everyone would have been like, "Ooh, bit too far, Roman." So I don't know. I'm in both camps. I mean, it was a worked shoot. So yeah, I think it was. I'm gonna go out there, Vince, and I'm gonna call out Brock Lesnar. I'm gonna say he's not here. I'm gonna rip into him, and then whatever happens after that happens. And everyone says, "Well, yeah." And then he comes back and goes,
I still think Vince was probably said, I know I said you can go out there and say whatever you want and it's okay, but that wasn't okay.
No, that wasn't okay. Leave the building.
But I think fans again, with how awkward and fickle WWE fans are now, they cheer the bad guys and they boo the good guys.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. So, we're talking a little bit about SmackDown before. What's your opinion on SmackDown at the moment? And as of the 2nd of the 3rd, 2018.
Again, I think they're getting lost in the shuffle a little bit with the show. I think I'm not sure what I would do with it to improve it. To be quite honest, I think it is SmackDown, regardless of whether they've done this brand split, has always been that second show to Raw.
A lot of people in the past, though, have said when the brand split first happened this time round, SmackDown really took over.
It did for a few weeks.
Yeah, it really did. I was like, yes, this is good. I get one great show on Raw, and then I get an amazing show on SmackDown, and then a fantastic show every week on NXT. It was because I really like NXT. I follow it every week, so that's. But again, that's because I've got the network and I can watch it live.
Yeah.
I know it's a taping, but I can watch it when I can be up to date. I don't have to set my TiVo to record Raw on a Monday night and I've got work on a Tuesday. I can watch it.
Yeah.
I don't have to go back and it's so frustrating that you can't watch Raw and SmackDown. Like, even if it was just like I know they've got this week, but that doesn't cover it enough for me. If I wanted to do that, I could just go on YouTube and watch the 30-minute highlights that people keep putting on at the moment. But if I wanted to do that, I don't know. Why can't they just put it on the network like a week after? And then you can watch it all.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't have to be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They've got to knock that on the head. They've got to knock that.
It's a pain. I think I think it's an element of confusion as to what angle they're going with SmackDown for WrestleMania.
Well, this is what I was just about to say. Or you take Raw off SmackDown off TV and you put them on the network. You build SmackDown up through the network, so your network subscription is for SmackDown and NXT.
Possibly.
There is enough on SmackDown. You've got AJ Styles, you've got Kevin Owens, you've got Sami Zayn, you've got Becky Lynch, Charlotte's on SmackDown as well, isn't she?
Yeah, I think the problem is it takes away from when they do the pay-per-view build-up. So I think it does have to remain on TV. I think they need to have a bit of a flip around with
try something new.
The names on the roster, but make SmackDown the sort of the big boy NXT.
Yeah, exactly. More wrestling, less backstage segments, more wrestling. I mean, if you look at the talent that's on the card for SmackDown, the roster, they are amazing, fantastic workers.
Yeah, definitely.
The matches that are available, if you was general manager, well, obviously, if you was booking SmackDown and you go through the roster, you just go him and him, her and her, him and him, her and her, done. That's it. That's 2-hour program.
Definitely.
It's that simple. Surely it's that simple.
Yeah, I think, but there's a lot of things that are up in the air with Joe. I mean, I don't know whether anyone knows whether Daniel Bryan. They apparently appear to be leading to a Daniel Bryan versus Shane, from what I can gather. But it's whether the whole Daniel Bryan's been cleared to wrestle or.
I watched an interesting. I think it was like a podcast, but it was an interview sort of podcast with him, and he was talking about how he's been cleared by everyone,
but WWE doctors.
Yeah, and he was saying that my head is better than most people's on the roster at the moment. So, and this was I think it was a couple of years ago as well.
There's got to be something inner politics wise, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's the whole, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily down to the whole head injury scenario. I think behind the scenes, if you know, obviously, like since CM Punk left the WWE, he's been in a huge legal battle with the same WWE doctor in regards to things like staph infections and being misdiagnosed for a number of injuries.
If I understand he's a professional doctor, but if all these issues keep arising, just fuck him off. Just there's other professional doctors waiting to come through the ranks, and I understand in a professional business and an environment that you trust someone who's been there and done that, but sometimes it's time to let go and try something new. It has to happen.
Again, the guy's obviously a professional.
Yeah,
he knows what he's talking about. But if there's a number of problems there, if Daniel Bryan's been cleared by sort of like concussion specialists that have diagnosed NFL players, and
that's exactly what he was talking about. And the podcast. I can't remember what podcast it was, so sorry guys. But just go type it into YouTube. Just type in Daniel Bryan podcast, and just maybe put concussion at the end, and it will come up because he talks a lot about it, and he goes into real depth. And the podcast presenter who's talking to him, he's saying, that's a sensitive subject, Daniel, and all this. So we won't get into concussions because that is something that I cannot speak of at all. Dodgy ankles, on the other hand, I am the dog's bollocks on that. Yeah. But yeah, so Smackdown needs a bit of a flip.
Yeah, I mean, realistic. I mean, I'm not sure if you would again give like if you were to turn around to me tomorrow and say, "Okay, you're in control," what would you do to turn it around? I'm not sure what I would do, because again, the talent that are already there, I wouldn't say they're necessarily doing anything wrong.
The talent are doing nothing wrong. It's what they're being given, I think, isn't good enough. And the way it's being presented is they're doing it different every week. I don't know if you've noticed these little nameplates and stuff that are coming up that's different. Like Luke Owen was saying on Wrestle Talk, he called Shinsuke Nakamura the rock star of WWE. And it was like, no. He's the king of strong style,
No, you're not Heath Slater. He's got kids, man.
I'm sure he has got kids, but he's still the king of strong style, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think this is again a problem with when you get the guys come up from NXT to the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them get used right, some of them get used wrong. I mean, Kevin Owens was booked fantastically in his first year.
But he didn't really change, did he?
No, he didn't. He did the exact same thing on the main show as he did on NXT.
Yeah.
I don't think Nakamura's necessarily done anything differently, albeit some of the matches. I mean, again, if you look at the matches that are on takeovers compared to the matches that were, I think it's evidently obvious that the shows that are in control by Vince compared to the NXT that's Triple H.
Yeah,
I think it's plainly obvious.
That's a fair comment. I'd say that's true. Apparently, the Gauntlet match though was all Vince, wasn't it, on Raw?
Possibly, I'm not sure. Apparently so, but I think the way that I think what they did with Rollins,
that was a great way to put him over. Because he's not had much going on, has he? He's had the bar feud for about 12 years. So that was good to see the end of that now. So he's going into this Intercontinental Championship tier now with The Miz and Finn Balor. I'm looking forward to that. If that plays out at WrestleMania, that'd be a great match.
I think again, ever since they've done the bland split, the bland split.
The bland split.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on, because it feels like things have gone a bit stale. Things like the tag team division. If you look at SmackDown, you have the Usos, New Day, and then Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, and then that's probably about it from what springs to mind in terms of tag team. Same with if you go to Raw. Ascension, really? Ascension. No. Again, ever since they've come from NXT, I don't think they've been booked. Again, compared to what they were on NXT, I think there was a lot of talk of over the next few years, like guys going back down.
Yeah.
To NXT, that maybe I think guys that would work with, like guys like Dolph Ziggler. Albeit now he seems to, ever since he took a break away, he appears to have had a little bit of a rejuvenation.
He still get his music the wrong way around though.
Yeah.
Record scratch and then the music starts.
Yeah.
I think we'll end that there. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and for watching the No Holds Barred logo in the background on YouTube. Cheers for joining us down here at No Holds Barred. Thanks for joining us, Mark. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, you too.
And we'll continue to, have a bitch and moan about wrestling on the podcast. It's been great fun. Thanks a lot, man.
Awesome. Cheers very much, dude.
And cheers for watching, guys. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, No Holds Barred. Follow me on Twitter at No Holds Barred. And we'll see you down here next time. Cheers.